Have you ever noticed how the things you want the most are often the very things that pull you the farthest away from yourself? It's strange how desire can start as a spark, small, harmless, exciting, and then slowly grow into a force that shapes your thoughts, manipulates your choices, and bends your entire emotional world around something you can't seem to let go of. Maybe it's a woman who lives in your mind, even when she barely shows up in your life. Maybe it's a habit that you know drains you, yet you still run back to it in moments of weakness. Maybe it's a craving for validation, attention, or pleasure that never quite fills the emptiness it promises to fix. And here's the question that most men are too afraid to ask themselves, but every man needs to confront. If something outside of you can dictate your emotions, your decisions, and your sense of peace, are you truly in control, or are you quietly enslaved by the very thing you want? That question hits differently because it exposes a truth we try to avoid. The truth that desire can feel like freedom in the moment, but it becomes a cage when it starts to own you. And this is where Stoicism enters like a cold wind in a quiet room, reminding you that no man is free if he is ruled by what he craves. Today, you're going to understand why desire feels so powerful and how to break its grip before it breaks you. But before we dive deeper, I want you to ground yourself in the mindset that creates true mastery. Go to the comments and write, "I choose self-mastery." Not for me, for you. That phrase is the first step toward becoming a man who commands his impulses instead of being commanded by them. And while you're here, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications to become a Stoic soldier. Now let's begin the journey. Desire never walks into your life wearing chains. It walks in wearing a smile. It doesn't announce itself as something dangerous or controlling. Instead, it disguises itself as excitement, pleasure, passion, or possibility. It whispers, "Just this once. You deserve it. You need this." And before you realize it, you start rearranging your life around something that was never meant to lead you. That's the trap. Desire convinces you that you're choosing it, when in reality, it's choosing you. Think about how many times you chased that one message from a woman, hoping it would give you closure, validation, or comfort, only to feel emptier afterward. Or how many moments you gave into a craving because it promised a burst of satisfaction, yet the moment it faded, you felt weaker, smaller, less in control. Desire always promises fulfillment, but its true purpose is consumption. It consumes your time, your discipline, your peace, and your clarity little by little, until you're no longer acting from strength, but reacting from impulse. And the worst part, it feels good. That's why men fall for it. That's why men get trapped in loops they can't escape. That's why desire is one of the most dangerous masters, because it gives you pleasure in exchange for your power, and most men don't notice the deal they made until the cost is too high. But a Stoic man begins to see the pattern. He recognizes that anything that feels too good too easily is rarely good for long. He realizes that every desire he feeds grows stronger, and every desire he resists loses influence. And once he understands that, the world shifts, because he finally sees desire not as a pleasure to indulge, but as a force that must be mastered. Every time a man chases desire, he steps a little further away from who he truly is. Not because wanting something is wrong, but because the chase turns him into someone reactive, unstable, and emotionally scattered. Think about how quickly desire can distort your sense of reality. One moment you're grounded, thinking clearly, moving with purpose, and the next, you're refreshing your phone, waiting on a message, obsessing over someone's attention, or bending your standards for a moment of validation. It happens quietly. It happens subtly. And it happens to almost every man who has ever wanted something too intensely. You start to convince yourself that you just need this one thing. Once she texts back, once she chooses you, once you get that hit of pleasure, once the craving is satisfied, then you'll feel steady again. But the truth is, you're not chasing the thing, you're chasing the feeling, and that feeling is always temporary. Desire turns men into shadows of themselves because it makes them abandon the very qualities that make them powerful: patience, clarity, composure, self-respect. A man who chases loses his grounding. He reacts instead of leads. He hopes instead of chooses. He clings instead of evaluates. And slowly, he turns into someone he doesn't recognize, a man who follows impulses rather than principles, a man who seeks approval rather than embodies truth, a man who waits to be chosen instead of choosing his direction. But here's the part Stoicism makes brutally clear. The moment a man loses himself in the pursuit of something external, he forfeits his strength to it. If you ever want to understand why you feel drained, anxious, or out of control, look at what you've been chasing, not what you want, what you chase. That's where freedom is lost, and that's where we go next. Why desire makes you so easy to control. When a man is ruled by desire, he becomes predictable, and predictability is the foundation of control. Anyone who understands what you desperately want can guide your actions without ever raising their voice, lifting a finger, or showing their intentions. If you crave attention, all someone has to do is give it, then take it away. If you crave validation, all someone has to do is offer approval, then withhold it. If you crave pleasure, all someone has to do is tempt you, then let your own weakness do the rest. Desire exposes you. It reveals your soft spots, your blind spots, your emotional openings. And once those are visible, the world knows exactly where to press. A woman who realizes you need her attention can control your mood with a silence that lasts 10 minutes too long. A habit that knows you're dependent on it can whisper to you at your lowest moments and pull you back in with ease. A craving that knows you don't have boundaries can lead you around like a leash, making you believe you're choosing it when really it's choosing for you. That's the danger of desire. It turns you into a man who reacts to everything and chooses nothing. You don't move with intention, you move with hunger. You don't speak from strength, you speak from need. You don't set standards, you hope for outcomes. And in that state, anyone or anything with the power to satisfy your desire controls you more effectively than chains ever could. But here's the truth. Stoicism carved into the hearts of warriors and rulers alike. A man who cannot master his desires will always be mastered by something else. That's why the path to freedom begins with one shift: understanding that the world cannot manipulate a man who wants less, needs less, and chooses from clarity rather than craving. And that's where we go next. The Stoic truth that real freedom isn't found in indulging desire, but in commanding yourself. Stoicism teaches a truth so simple and yet so powerful that most men spend their entire lives avoiding it. The only real freedom a man will ever know is the freedom he creates within himself. Not freedom from responsibility, not freedom from challenges, not freedom from uncertainty, but freedom from the inner chaos that comes from obeying every impulse the moment it appears. A man who cannot command himself will be commanded by everything around him. If emotions can pull you, you're not free. If urges can override your judgment, you're not free. If cravings can twist your decisions, you're not free. A man who lives at the mercy of his desires is like a ship with no anchor. Every wave, every wind, every temptation pushes him off course. His life stops being intentional and becomes reactive. His identity is no longer chosen, it's shaped by whatever craving strikes next. But the Stoic man understands something deeper. Freedom isn't the absence of desire. It's the ability to resist it. It's the power to say, nope, even when your entire body is screaming yes. It's the strength to hold your ground when your impulses try to drag you toward weakness. It's the calm refusal to let anything external dictate your internal state. That's why the strongest men in history weren't the ones who had everything. They were the ones who could walk away from anything. Not because they didn't want, but because they didn't need. And once a man reaches that level of self-command, desire stops being his master and becomes something smaller, something he can observe, control, and rise above. That is where real freedom begins. And in the next section, we dig into how desire shrinks your spirit while discipline expands it. Desire has a way of making a man feel smaller, even when it feels good in the moment. Every time you give in to an impulse you know you should have resisted, something inside you contracts. You feel it. The quiet frustration, the disappointment in yourself, that sense of losing ground. It's like a subtle erosion of your spirit. You tell yourself you'll do better tomorrow, but tomorrow comes and desire whispers again, and again, and again. And each time you surrender, you chip away at your own confidence. That's what desire does. It reduces you. It collapses your strength inward. It takes the fire that once burned in your chest and turns it into a flicker that bends to every passing wind. Discipline, on the other hand, is the opposite force. It expands you. Every time you hold firm, something inside you grows. You feel it in your posture, in your presence, in the way your mind becomes sharper and your emotions steadier. Discipline is the quiet builder of the self. It's the invisible armor that forms around a man when he chooses strength over softness. And here's the thing most men don't realize. Discipline isn't punishment, it's empowerment. Every time you resist a craving, you don't lose something, you gain something. You gain control, clarity, confidence, and a deeper respect for yourself. You gain proof that you can rely on your own will, even when it's difficult. And that's the kind of proof that changes the course of a man's entire life. Because once a man starts seeing himself as someone capable of restraint, capable of mastery, capable of choosing the harder path, he becomes someone desire can no longer corrupt. That is how you grow into a man who stands tall, not because he has eliminated desire, but because he has learned to rise above it. And next we explore where desire hooks men the deepest, through women. Desire reaches its deepest hooks through women because nothing pulls a man off his path faster than the longing for feminine attention, affection, or validation. It starts subtly, almost innocently. You meet a woman who sparks something in you, and suddenly your mood rises and falls with her replies. Your confidence becomes tied to whether she chooses you today. Your value becomes tangled in whether she gives you warmth or pulls away. And before you realize it, you're no longer acting from strength, you're reacting from desire. When a man wants a woman too much, he forgets his standards. He bends his boundaries. He tolerates behavior he would never accept from anyone else. He becomes softer, needier, more uncertain. And the most dangerous part? She doesn't even have to manipulate you intentionally. Your own desire does the work for her. A delayed text becomes a test. A cold message becomes a wound. A hint of attention becomes a lifeline. She becomes the mirror you use to see your worth. And you don't even realize how much power you've handed over. This is where many men fall. Not because women are cruel, but because desire blinds them to their own strength. Stoicism teaches you that a woman's presence should add to your life, not command it. Her attention should be appreciated, not worshipped. Her affection should be valued, not chased. When a man is centered, grounded, disciplined, he doesn't crumble when a woman pulls back. He remains still, calm, unmoved. Because he knows his worth is internal, not granted by someone else's approval. Once you understand this, you break one of the strongest chains desire can ever use against you. And with that chain broken, we move into one of your greatest weapons: silence and self-control. There comes a point when a man realizes that not every battle is won by force, reaction, or explanation. Some are won by silence. Silence is misunderstood by weak men because they think speaking more, reacting faster, and expressing everything makes them powerful. But strength is rarely loud. True power comes from restraint, the ability to hold yourself when your emotions demand release, to stay calm when your impulses scream for action. Silence is the moment when you choose discipline over desire. It is the breath between your thoughts where you regain control of your mind. It is the refusal to let craving dictate your next move. When you stop reacting, desire loses its grip. When you stop chasing, desire loses its power. When you stop giving your attention to things that drain you, the chains begin to loosen. Self-control is your shield, silence is your sword. Together they turn you into a man who is no longer swayed by temporary emotions or manipulated by external forces. A man who practices silence is dangerous, not because he hides, but because he no longer gives the world easy access to his energy. People can no longer read you. Temptations no longer trap you. Your desires no longer drag you where you don't want to go. Instead of being controlled, you become unmovable. That's the power the Stoics lived by, the ability to remain still inside even when the world tries to pull you apart. And once you learn this, you stop being led by every urge and you start leading yourself. Now, it's time to talk about how to break free from desire's grip completely. Breaking free from desire doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It happens in a series of quiet decisions where you choose strength over impulse again and again until it becomes your natural state. Most men think freedom comes from getting rid of desire, but that's not true. Desire will always exist. What changes is your relationship to it. The first step is awareness, recognizing when your cravings are steering your actions. The second step is interruption, pausing long enough to detach from the emotional surge that tries to control you. The third step is redirection, channeling that energy into something higher, something you choose rather than something that chooses you. It's in these small acts of defiance where your power returns. When you stop checking your phone for someone who isn't checking for you, you break a chain. When you refuse to feed a habit that leaves you empty and ashamed, you break a chain. When you feel an urge rising and you breathe through it instead of obeying it, you break a chain. And each time you do, the grip of desire weakens and the grip of discipline strengthens. Freedom isn't a switch. It's a gradual reclaiming of your mind, your time, your emotions, and your identity. Every temptation resisted is a brick in the foundation of your self-mastery. Every craving you say nope to is proof that you are becoming the man who commands himself. And once you start tasting that kind of power, desire stops being a ruler and becomes nothing more than a passing guest you choose not to entertain. Now let's close this journey with the truth that brings everything together, the Stoic path forward. In the end, every man must face one truth that determines the entire direction of his life. A man ruled by desire is never truly free, but a man who rules his desires becomes unstoppable. Freedom isn't found in chasing pleasures, people, or impulses. It's found in mastering yourself so completely that nothing outside of you can shake your peace. When you stop letting cravings dictate your choices, you become stable. When you stop letting people manipulate your emotions, you become powerful. When you stop needing anything external to feel whole, you become dangerous in the best way possible, because your strength comes from within, not from the world's approval. The man who can walk away is stronger than the man who constantly chases. The man who can say nope to his impulses is stronger than the man who indulges them. The man who chooses discipline over desire becomes someone desire can no longer control. That's the man you're becoming, the man who moves with intention, not impulse, the man who leads himself instead of being led by cravings, the man who commands his emotions, his habits, his actions, and his life. And before you go, take one final step toward that identity. Drop a comment saying, "I master myself." Not for me, for you, so you anchor that truth into your mind. And while you're here, like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications to become a Stoic soldier. Thank you for watching. Walk with discipline, walk with clarity, and walk as a man who carries his freedom within him.